So 4-4 was the reading today. I'm grading the quizzes, so I don't have a quick answer burst from what 4-4 is. There's nothing new to read tonight. We just need a day to kind of assimilate what we're doing and get caught up on homework and do that sort of thing. Tonight you're looking to do page 96. So I have a little bit of stuff over here that maybe helps with a little bit of page 96, with that, or what page 96 is about. The quiz tomorrow is just a reworked version of 4-4. So let's talk through some stuff. Anybody, can you mention a word that was in 4-4? Any memories of a word you might have just filled in a blank from 4-4 or read in 4-4? Right, so let's go to the back of this quiz I just gave you. It's got a front back, not because it's that much bigger than the one you did, but just because I gave you some more space to write. If you look at it, you probably can see there's a bunch of like bigger spaces than what you're used to. So on the back on 20, right angle was in the reading. Can anybody tell me what a right angle is about?
An angle that has exactly 90 degrees.
Yeah, and we're going to mention one magic word that we learned about 2 days ago. Angles have numbers. What are those numbers called?
Isn't it measures?
Measures. So for number 20, let's say that the measure is 90. So number 20, measure is 90. While we're on that topic, why don't we do 21? Can anybody tell me what obtuse is about?
90 or more than 90 degrees.
And then what's the magic word?
The measure.
Measure. So we're going to, for 21, say measure more than 90. How about 22?
Less than 90.
Magic word?
Measure.
Measure. So measure less than 90 is 22. Anybody 23, did you pick up on what makes angles be congruent? Anybody memory from the reading? What makes angles be congruent? Let's grab a book, look it up. Go ahead to 4-4, check the reading. What makes angles be congruent? Somebody let me know. Same measure. So 23, we can say same measure, you could say equal measure, you could say anything like that. What have you noticed has been the word of the day?
Measure.
Measure. Measure's in like every answer. So 20 measured 90, 21 measured more than 90, 22 measured less than 90, 23 the measure is the same. 24 might have been in the reading, or this might be me making up a side note, I'm not sure. This didn't make the quiz today. But angles are equal if they're the same set of points. Angles are equal if they're the same set of points. If I could make a real world analogy, if David were here, he's got a good name for this. If I said David or if I said Dave, you know who I'm talking about. Those are equal. It's two names for the same thing. Those are equal things. Congruent things in the real world, we'd have to have something we don't presently have in our school, but we have before, identical twins. If you had identical twins, they're congruent. They each have their own identity. They're not equal. They're not the same person. There's two people there. But they're the same size, same shape, same everything. Identical twins would be sort of like what congruent is about. Equal means it's like two names for the same product. So let me take a step to some notes here. To my left, your right. I drew you this picture. I drew you this picture. These two pictures are basically identical twins. They're the same size, same shape. Okay? This has a different name than this because it's a different thing. Took some chalk to do this, took some chalk to do that. But then I did some descriptions here where some of these things maybe are equal, some of these things maybe are congruent, and we're going to try to make a verdict. So if you find angle C and you find angle H, is it better to say they're equal? Is it better to say they're congruent? And this is a congruent symbol. The congruent symbol is an equal to with a thing called a tilde. T-I-L-D-E is this squiggle cap. If we do an equal sign with a tilde on top, that's a congruent sign. But is it more accurate to say these angles are equal? Is it more accurate to say those angles are congruent? Or is this a circumstance where you could say both things? Or are those both lies? Does anybody have a thought on the accuracy of either of those statements? Okay, back to retread. Congruent means they had the same
Points.
measure. If I broke out a protractor and I measured them, they'd measure the same amount of degrees. Equal meant they're the same set of points, meaning it's two names for the same exact thing. Like I say Dave, I said David. That's equal. I have identical twins in the room, but there's two different individual people. That's more what congruent is about. So does anybody have a thought on whether equal is appropriate here, congruent is appropriate here, both, neither? What's up with that?
Congruent.
Congruent is true. Are they equal?
Would the labels change things?
Yes.
So,
No. These are not equal angles. Angle C is here. Angle H is there. They might look a lot alike, but they each have their own identity. They are not the same thing. Angle C is not equal to angle H. Angle C has its own identity compared to angle H. But it is true that they are congruent. If I grab my protractor, that's probably like 60 degrees. So is this. Those are congruent angles. They'd have the same measure. How about angle ACE? Find it. Also find angle C. Would it be accurate to say that those are equal? Yes. Angle ACE is here. Angle C is also there. Those are equal angles. Those are the same drawing. Those are two names for the same drawing. Those are equal. Would it be accurate to say angle FHI equals angle H?
yeah.
Yes, those are both names for this drawing. Angle FHI is here, angle H is there. Are there other names too that would be equal to these? Yeah. Could you give me one more example of an angle that's another name for this same picture?
GHI.
Angle GHI would work just fine. Those would continue to be equal angles. Is angle ACE congruent to angle C? We decided they were equal. Would it also be true that they're congruent? If I measured angle ACE, get a number. I measure angle C, I get a number. Will they be the same number?
Yeah.
Yes. Those would be still congruent angles. How about angle FHI compared to angle H? True that they're congruent?
Yeah.
Yes. Basically, if the angles are equal, then they have to be congruent. If angles are congruent, maybe they're equal, maybe not. They're only equal if it's two names for the same picture. Question about that concept? Okay, so let's go back to the paper. Complementary. What was complementary about from the reading? Anybody remember complementary? Or grab your book and find it. What was complementary about?
The sum of the measures of the two angles is 90.
That's correct. Shortest way you can say that is measures add to 90. So number 25, measures add to 90 would be a fine answer for me. What older, slightly older word does that remind you of that's kind of similar to that? And people sometimes get these crisscrossed.
Supplementary.
Supplementary. What was the only difference about supplementary?
180
Is 180. So if you're looking at 18 and want to fill that in, feel free. 18 is the same as 25. It just uses 180 as the magic number. So 25 measures add to 90. Back up a little bit to 18, measures add to 180. Perpendicular was on the quiz for a little bit. Anybody have a memory, or can you find what makes lines be perpendicular? Either memory or find it. It's in 4 form.
If their sides are right angle.
No, not for lines perpendicular. You got a right answer, wrong slot though. For 26, lines perpendicular is a different answer section.
So if they can if they're perpendicular, right?
Correct. So 26, lines perpendicular is that they contain a pair of perpendicular rays. You can also say actually they contain two pair of perpendicular rays. Like right here, these rays are perpendicular. Those rays are also perpendicular. So whether you say they contain one pair of perpendicular rays or they contain two pair of perpendicular rays, either of those answers works for me. So then that lends the question, what makes rays perpendicular? What was that answer?
They're the sides of a right angle.
They're the sides of a right angle. So if I just focus on this part of the picture, those two rays are the sides of a right angle. Those two rays are the sides of a right angle. Those rays are perpendicular based on that definition. So if you missed that, rewinding, 26 was they contain a pair of perpendicular rays. 27 is they are the sides of a right angle. They're the sides of a right angle. 28 is a three-point definition. So for anything in the world to be perpendicular, here's three rules. Rule 1 is you can only have rays, lines, or segments. Rays, lines, and segments can be perpendicular to other rays, lines, and segments. But you can't have perpendicular like angles or perpendicular points. Like that's not a thing. So to be perpendicular sets, each one needs to be a ray, line, or segment. They have to intersect. And then the lines containing them are perpendicular. So if I draw this,
What's the points?
rule 1 was each one has to be a line, ray, or segment. Rule 2, they have to intersect. Rule 3, the lines containing them are perpendicular. So I draw this picture. Does that obey rule 1? Is each one a line, ray, or segment? Yes. Lines versus rays, or segments versus rays. Does that obey rule 3? The lines containing them, are they perpendicular? Yeah. So would we say yeah all the way across the board? No. What rule did it fail?
Intersect.
They didn't intersect. Intersect means they have to touch. Those are not perpendicular. If I go like this, now is that perpendicular sets?
Yep.
Yeah. It's a line, ray, or segment. They touched, and the lines containing them are perpendicular. If I go like this, is this segment perpendicular to that angle? No. Why not? Which rule did it fail?
Angles can't be.
Angle's not part of the list. It's lines, rays, segments. I can only draw you lines, rays, segments. I can't draw you angles and then play that game. So to be perpendicular sets, rule 1, I got to draw you lines, rays, segments. Rule 2, they have to intersect, they have to touch. Rule 3, the lines containing them have to be perpendicular. 31 is a question that David answered for us on Friday. So let's build up to this. So I say 10. I want to know its supplement. What is the supplement of 10? 170. How did we do that math? 180 minus what I gave you. So at the end of the period last time, I gave you an X. And Dave told us what the supplement would be.
X minus 180.
Close.
180 minus X.
180 minus X. If I ask you to do its complement, what is the complement of 10? 80. What would be the complement if I threw you an X? 90 minus X. So that caps off 31, 32. 31 is 180 minus X for the supplement thing, 90 minus X for the complement thing. Let's fill in some other answers. I don't have high confidence based on my grading of the quiz on the supplement postulate. We got hit pretty hard on that one last time when we took that on Friday. Can anybody do the supplement postulate? I'm looking at 19. you.
It's like if two lines are like lining or something.
It's close. Yeah, he's in the neighborhood. Can anybody tweak a word or two of that? He's in the definite ballpark.
Is this the one that it two angles measures add up to? Nope.
It starts if two angles. If two angles form a
Linear set
close linear
pair.
pair. Okay, then they are,
Something like
there's 19. If two angles form a linear pair, then they're supplementary. So we've handled the back. The front is older stuff. I don't know, you tell me. These are all things that we practiced from last week, but I'll do it again if you're not feeling good about it. Anybody on the front, anything you want me to share with you and answer on the front side yet?
Can you do the first three?
First three, can anybody do one?
The union
Yeah.
of two rays
Yeah.
that share the same endpoint
Okay.
but do not lie in the same line.
That all works, yep. We're hitting four ideas there. Union of two rays that are non-collinear and they have a common endpoint. Or they intersect only at the endpoint, something like that. You don't have to word for word it, but I want to get union, I want to get two rays, I want to get either the word non-collinear or the phrase that they're not on the same line, and then we want to get a phrase like they intersect only at the endpoint, or they have a common endpoint, or some sort of thing about that endpoint in there. Two, can anybody tell me what the sides are then?
The rays.
Those are the two rays, agreed. Can anybody say what the vertex is then?
The common endpoint.
It's the common endpoint. Agree with all of that. You studied your angles, I see.
Yeah, I wound up studying 4.3 before this quiz.
Okay, yeah, we skipped 4.3 and then we,
Would you have just taken like endpoint?
yeah. Yeah, for 3, I'd take that. Need me to rewind that, or is that okay?
No, that's
Good. Anybody else on the front? Anything that is looking weird? Yeah?
Can we do 16 and 17?
Yeah. I would do, the drawing on 16 might help us do 17. So, anybody, can you give a suggested way to draw a linear pair?
It's like a line at the bottom and then it's like 40-degree angle going right.
Yeah, you could do it either way. You could go that way. Or you could go that way. Or if you want to go crazy, you could go that way. Or you could go that way. Doesn't matter what way you go. We want to draw a line first. And after you draw the line, just from the middle of the line somewhere, just branch off in some direction. If you have the picture, then we could do a definition. Any idea what, I'll swatch the word if, that's not a big help. Can anybody do anything from what the definition's gonna do?
It's like if the, right?
Let's do the letters in a minute, but let's at least do the words.
If length is something, I don't know.
Anybody remember any words from linear pair? What could we call these?
Oh, if two segments, right?
Two rays.
What kind of rays? What kind of-
Collinear.
That's true. There's a word of types of rays we have. Blank rays, we only have one thing we really love.
Obtuse.
Opposite.
Opposite rays. So we're gonna say this and that are opposite rays. This is just another ray. Then a couple of angles would form a linear pair. We'll need to do letters and names in a second, but that's the structure, the words of the definition are, if these things are opposite rays, and something else is any other ray, then we'd have a couple angles that form a linear pair. And then it's just a matter of what letters we want to do. I think the original way we did this had an A, a B, a C, and a D. But if you like spelling your name or your favorite team or whatever you're doing, that doesn't matter to me. But based on the A, B, C, D I just chose, who are the opposite rays names?
A, B, and AC.
A, B, and AC are the opposite rays. They both have to start with A, because A is like the busy junction point. Who's the other ray?
AD.
AD. Then who are the two angles we just created?
DAC and
What was the second one you said?
DAB
DAB, yeah.
and DAC.
Yeah, I agree. So DAB and DAC, or BAD and CAD. If you name angles backward, does that hurt us? No. If you name rays backward, does that hurt you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to start with the letter it starts with. Does that go okay? That was yours. Rewind it, are you all right?
Oh, man.
No, I'm good. Or was that yours? That was, I forget whose that
That
was.
was mine.
Okay, is that okay? Anybody else, anything on the front? Anything I can try to help you out on? 15's the other one that it takes practice to do it right. I don't know if you want to practice that again. We did like 3 of them on Friday. Anybody you want me to do a 15? Yeah. So 15, I would draw this picture. And we could settle on letters in a minute. Does anybody remember how the words go before we pick the letters? If something is in the, spark any memory?
Is it endpoint?
Interior
Is it if a ray is
of some angle, then there's going to be math happening. Does anybody remember what math happens?
isn't it like
You
angle?
think you know it? What do you think?
Is it like the big, like the angle equals some, the measure of the smaller one plus the other measures?
Agreed. And we'll stick a little M on that one to boot, yeah. So if we'll pick a letter is in the interior of, we'll name the angle, then the measure of that big angle we're about to pick equals the measure of 2 little ones added up. It makes sense that we're doing adding because the thing after all is called
Angle addition.
angle addition, blah, blah. So we've got to have adding in here somewhere, and we've got to have angles in here somewhere. That's how it had the name. I think the book did it with a D in the interior of BAC. But you don't have to do it that way. You can pick your favorite word or name or whatever you want to do. So if D is in the interior of BAC, come back with the BAC. Who are the 2 little ones that are in there that can add?
Is it ADB and DAC?
DAC, yes. It has to have A as the center letter in the list because they're all.
Oh, BAD.
Say again?
BAD.
BAD would work, yeah. We could go bad and CAD or bad and DAC, however, again, forward, backward, doesn't matter, but yeah, they all have A, based on that picture, they all have A in the center slot. Personally, I would not try to memorize the letters from scratch. I would just draw a little sketch and then try to use the little sketch to help you do it. Does the little sketch get you a point? No, but the little sketch gives you maybe the ability to get yourself the point by writing out all that if, then, A, B, C, D kind of stuff. Anything else on the front? Anything that people have that is problematic?
Can we
What's
do
the definition for perimeter?
The sum of the length of the sides. So that was 9. 9 is the sum of the length of the sides. Yeah.
Can we do 12 and 14?
Okay, 12 is for every angle there corresponds a real number between 0 and 180. 13 is much shorter. 13 is just the number given by the angle measurement postulate. And you can write AMP instead of writing out the words angle measurement postulate. So 13, the number given by the AMP. Anything else? I'll stick around if you want to stick around. If you're running the lunch, you're running the lunch, that's fine. But anybody on the front want me to say anything more than what I said? 12 again is for every angle, there corresponds a real number between 0 and 180. Yeah, never mind. Anybody else want me to hit you with anything else? So quiz tomorrow is this, in your hands. 96 is the newest homework. There's nothing new tomorrow like to learn and read and absorb. So tomorrow we probably spend a good bit of time just going through homework pages. So get your 80s, get your 87s, get your 96s to be decent, and we'll talk some tomorrow about homework.